Gallia Aquitania, also known as Aquitaine or Aquitaine Gaul, was a province of the Roman Empire. It lies in present-day southwest France, where it gives its name to the modern region of Aquitaine. It was bordered by the provinces of Gallia Lugdunensis, Gallia Narbonensis, and Hispania Tarraconensis, tribes of Aquitania. 14 Celtic tribes and 20 Aquitanian tribes occupied the northern parts of the Pyrenees from the country of the Cevennes to the ocean, bounded by two rivers, the Garonne and the Liger. The major tribes are listed at the end of this section. There were more than 20 tribes of Aquitaine, but they were small and lacking in repute. The majority of the tribes lived along the ocean, while the others reached up into the interior and to the summits of the Cevennes Mountains, as far as the Tectosages. The name Gallia Comata was often used to designate the three provinces of Father Gaul, viz. Gallia Lugdunensis, Gallia Belgica, and Aquitania, literally meaning long-haired Gaul, as opposed to Gallia Bracciata, trousered Gaul, a term derived from Bracy for Gallia Narbonensis. Most of the Atlantic coast of the Aquitaine was sandy and thin-soiled. It grew millet, but was unproductive with respect to other products. Along this coast was also the gulf held by the Tarbelli. In their land, gold mines were abundant. Large quantities of gold could be mined with a minimum of refinement. The interior and mountainous country in this region had better soil. The Petrocorii and the Bituriges Cuba had fine ironworks, the Cadurci had linen factories, the Ruteni and the Gabalis had silver mines. According to Strabo, the Aquitaini were a wealthy people. Luerius, the king of the Arverni and the father of Bituitus, who warred against Maximus Aemilianus and Domitius, is said to have been so exceptionally rich and extravagant that he once rode on a carriage through a plain, scattering gold and silver coins here and there. The Romans called the tribal groups pagi. These were organized into larger supertribal groups that the Romans called civitates. These administrative groupings were later taken over by the Romans in their system of local control. Aquitania was inhabited by the following tribes: Agesinales, Ambulatri, Inanutes, Arverni, Ausher, Autobroges, Basibucates, Belenda, Bercorates, Burgari, Bipedimui, Cadurci, Cambolectra, Camponi, Cocosati, Consorani, Cuba, Alui, Alusates, Gabalus, Lachusates, Lemuvices, Mandubii, Munzi, Nishio-Bridges, Onabrisates, Oscadates, Oscadilus, Petrocorii, Petrogata, Pictones, Ruteni, Ruthenus, Santoni, Sasumani, Sediboniates, Senates, Sibilates, Sotiates, Succuses, Tarbelli, Tolosanes, Uliaris, Vassae, Velates, Velavia, Venami, Venetia, Vibasai, Vornates, Gallia Aquitania and Rome. Gaul as a nation was not a natural unit. Belgian Aquitaine. In order to protect the route to Spain, Rome helped Massalia against bordering tribes. Following this intervention, the Romans conquered what they called Provincia, or the province, in 121 BC. Provincia extended from the Mediterranean to Lake Geneva, and was later known as Narbonensis with its capital at Narbo. Some of the region falls into modern Provence, still recalling the Roman name. The main struggle against the Romans came against Julius Caesar under Vercingetorix at Battle of Gergovia and at the Battle of Alesia. The Gaulish commander was captured at the Siege of Alesia and the war ended. Caesar seized the remainder of Gaul, justifying his conquest by playing on Roman memories of savage attacks over the Alps by Celts and Germans. Italy was now to be defended from the Rhine. Caesar named Aquitania the triangle-shaped territory between the ocean, the Pyrenees and the Garonne River. He fought and almost completely subdued them in 56 BC after Publius Crassus's military exploits assisted by Celtic allies. New rebellions ensued anyway up to 2728 BC, with Agrippa gaining a great victory over the Gauls of Aquitania in 38 BC. It was the smallest region of all three mentioned above. Following that, a land extension stretching to the Loire River was added by Augustus, with the council of the Gaulish aristocracy. This reorganization took place after the census conducted in 27 BC, based on Agrippa's observations of language, race and community according to some sources. At this point, Aquitania along with Narbonensis, Lugdunensis and Belgica now made up Gallia and became an imperial province. Aquitania lay under the command of a former praetor, and hosted no legions. More so than Caesar, Strabo insists that the primeval Aquitaini differ from the other Gauls not just in language, institutions and laws but in body makeup too, deeming them more close to the Iberians. The administrative boundaries set up by Augustus, comprising both proper Celtic tribes and primeval Aquitaini, remained unaltered until Diocletian's new administrative reorganization. The Arverni often warred against the Romans with as many as 200,000 to 400,000 men. 200,000 fought against Quintus Fabius Maximus Aemilianus and against Domitius Ahenobarbus. The Arverni not only had extended their empire as far as Narbo and the boundaries of Massaliotes, but they were also masters of the tribes as far as the Pyrenees, and as far as the ocean and the Rhenus. Late Roman Empire and the Visigoths. For discussion on this time and after, also consult a history of Aquitaine. Early Roman Gaul came to an end late in the 3rd century. External pressures exacerbated internal weaknesses, and neglect of the Rhine frontier resulted in barbarian invasions and civil war. For a while Gaul, including Spain and Britain, was governed by a separate line of emperors. However, there had still been no mover to gain independence. In an attempt to save the empire, Diocletian reorganized the provinces in 293, with the establishment of the Diocesis Viennensis in the south of Gaul, comprising the former Gallia Aquitania and Gallia Narbonensis. At the same time, Aquitania was divided into Aquitania Prima, Aquitania Secunda and Aquitania Tertia or Novem Populania, the latter tracing back to the boundaries set up by Caesar for the original Aquitania, who had kept some kind of separate sense of identity. After this restructuring, Gaul enjoyed stability and enhanced prestige. This division was respected in the early Middle Ages by the Visigoth newcomers, with a direct follow-up in the Duchy of Vasconia, eventually turned into Gascony. From 395, the division of the empire between eastern and western rulers again caused the neglect of the Rhine frontier, reflected in the transfer of the Gallic prefect to Arelate. In 418, Emperor Flavius Honorius rewarded his Visigothic federates by giving them land in Aquitania on which to settle following the Germanic invasion and civil war. This was done probably under hospitalitas, the rules for billeting army soldiers. These were kept in check, until the death of Aetius and the growing debility of the Western government created a power vacuum. The 460s and 470s saw Visigothic encroachment on Roman territory to the east, and in 476, the last imperial possessions in the south were ceded to the Visigoths. The settlement hence formed the nucleus of the future Visigothic kingdom that would eventually expand across the Pyrenees and onto the Iberian Peninsula.